England minus 300 to win the group. USA plus 550. Wales 6-1. Iran 16-1. These odds, of course, are all from Bet365. Before we dive into this one, I want to say, so last World Cup 2018 in Russia was very chalky in the group stage. 2014, Spain, Italy, England, Portugal, all were knocked out. Germany finished last in their group. England finished last in their group in 2014. Usually there's a shock, right? Like one team, France was, I think, in 2010 because the team revolted against Deschamps or whoever was managing them at the time.
These things happen, Michael.
Right? So someone is just going to have a dud. And most of the time, these big favorites, England, Argentina, France, Netherlands, whoever, they're going to be priced big to finish at the bottom. It's worth taking a shot on one of them. I don't know if England's the one just because the group doesn't set up. I'll have another one later, but I do think there is a little bit of value on England to miss at 8-1 because look, they should take care of Iran. Like that's their opening match. Getting them first is a big advantage. USA and Wales, and basically an elimination game. Whoever loses that will play first in Group B. But England are just like their style of play with Southgate is makes them so kind of welcoming to an upset. Like they can lose to Wales, they can lose to the Americans. Can they lose to Iran? Probably not. But like the way they set up just doesn't play into their strengths. They play too conservatively. We hear all about it. There's already all this discourse about Southgate, and there's been for basically a decade now, it feels like. I just don't think they're that impressive. They're dealing with a bunch of injuries. So BJ, I know, this, like Anthony said, this England team is basically Brazil 1994 to you. You think that this is the best team ever. But I just don't see it.
I mean, that's fair. But the reality is that, if England was fully healthy, obviously, if they had Reece James, if they had Kyle Walker, we'd be, and Ben Chilwell, we'd have, be having a different conversation. But
they don't.
The reality is that this England team has just as much or the most talent of anybody in this tournament. You can make an argument for Brazil. You can make an argument for France, but England is right up there. You look through their roster, you could say, all right, maybe they have a little bit of a weakness at the center back pairing. Harry Maguire's been incredibly out of form. John Stones has kind of been in and out of injuries, but they have capable center backs who can pair alongside them, who have a ton of experience. And, Luke Shaw is obviously a capable left back, but from that point on, from the defense on, I don't think you can make an argument that England is more stacked than anybody else in this tournament. The defensive midfield pairing of Declan Rice and probably now Jude Bellingham is unbelievably outstanding and is going to be able to dominate pretty much anybody in this entire tournament, and especially in this group. Then you look forward, Bukayo Saka, Mason Mount, who's been in incredible form for Chelsea, whoever they decide they want to play on the left, whether it be Grealish, whether it be Raheem Sterling, and then Harry Kane is obviously one of the best strikers in the world up top. There is so much talent on this squad. And the reality is, Michael, is that yes, they do play conservative. They play very slow. They play very intricate. They build out from the back. They stranglehold possession. They didn't concede in the Euros until the semis against Denmark. Like, this has been the best defensive team in Europe throughout World Cup qualifying. They've only allowed 5 expected goals throughout all of World Cup qualifying. I understand they've been in somewhat of an easy group, but this, to me, is the best team in Europe. And if Europe is essentially, the second most difficult region, you could make an argument for Brazil. Brazil's obviously the favorite, but I love this England team. There is just way too much talent on this squad. I understand the overhanging, like the media and everything surrounding England is a big hoopla and everything, but they should easily get out of this group. And that sets up, and they're really in this World Cup, you want to be in the bottom half of the bracket. Like, you don't want to be in the top. So they're going to set up essentially a second round matchup, but probably against Senegal or Ecuador. And then they're going to have to play France, who we'll talk about in a little bit, who I think is very vulnerable as well. And then the bottom half of that bracket of the bottom half, I mean, it's Belgium, Portugal, Uruguay, or Switzerland. Like, the path for England here is actually quite good. The only hiccup they have really is against France, who, again, I think is very vulnerable. So the path for England here is very, very good. In terms of this group, I'm not laying minus 300 for them to win this group. I'll just bet them individually throughout these matches. But in terms of this group, Michael, you're not going to like this, but I do like Wales to finish at the bottom.
Where have we heard that one before?
Is a complete and utter luck box. I mean, come
Gareth
on.
Bale box.
Oh
Yeah,
my
but, I mean,
God. He is
it's
so cooked. Like it is.
I know a lot of people in the city of Philadelphia who do not think Gareth Bale is cooked
Okay.
after what
All
happened
right.
on
I'm
Saturday.
not gonna- I'm
and
not
it doesn't
gonna-
it does it's this isn't we're not forecasting Wales over 38 match season. Like this is
I
a team that,
understand that.
plays together really well. Like they
Oh my
just
gosh.
do well in these it's hard for us, it's hard for a lot of people. You got to remember, like, handicapping a tournament is very, very different from handicapping, a long season. So there's
not
there's a lot-
talent. They've been luck boxing their way through the Euros. They've luck boxed their way through World Cup qualifying. I mean,
but they got through it all.
but they did. But now we're here, and they're just going to be sitting back in their two low blocks. Their midfield right now is going to be Joe Allen and Aaron Ramsey. Joe Allen hasn't played for Swansea yet this season. Aaron Ramsey's completely cooked. I mean, until
they play for Wales, because that's all they care about. You go
back to the Euros. Okay. They had one good match against Turkey, who honestly was probably the worst team in the entire tournament. Outside of that, they got completely dominated in every single match. They got through the draw against Switzerland,
and
they got through. That's fine. But then, Michael, when we get to this point, and you're playing against,
and
England,
they got through against the United States.
There's no way they're going to get through this group. And the reason I love them to finish bottom at plus 33 is I don't really think there's that much difference between them and Iran, quite honestly, because Iran is a well-drilled defensive team that's going to sit in a 4-4-2. Obviously, they've had a lot of possession throughout Asian qualifying, but they are very capable. They've been in the last two World Cups. They've been in these type of situations where they have to sit back in a low block. They're very capable of doing so. And they have two really, really good strikers who can punish teams on the counter. So it's really going to come down to the Wales-Iran match, to whether Wales is actually going to finish bottom or get third place in this group, because I think United States should be a much more significant favorite against Wales than they currently are. I mean, Wales, they luck boxed that win against Austria. They luck boxed the win against Ukraine in World Cup qualifying. Like, they scored early and they just sat back.
You can't keep calling it a luck box if it
keeps
happening over and over and over.
Getting dominated. They allow a ton of shots.
It could just be a good tournament team. That's a thing. Like, it's a thing in these international tournaments. Like, chemistry matters. Think about these teams, right? They play. England looks different every 2 weeks, every international break. There's different players being meshed in. You got, this player's in good form. Ivan Toney's out of form. We got to switch these guys out. There's something to be said about teams that have had these, consistent groups. And this Wales team has basically been together.
You can't keep getting away with this, Michael. You
and
can't keep getting away.
They won't. All they need to do is get away with it one more time, because this is it for them, right? Like, we're not worried about them, 15 matches down the line. We're just saying, can they keep doing what they've done for 3 matches? One of which is against Iran.
Is what you're playing.
What?
You're playing a dangerous game.
I'm not. I'll get into the best part. Like, I think this is more about England missing the group. There's a way for England to miss this group, and I think the pressure is going to be immense on England in that England-Wales game. Wales can kind of hang around and almost play that, like, here he is, our man, Diego Simeone style, like just kind of sit back and use Gareth Bale at this age, what he's best at, which is, sit back and let him have a counter or click on a set piece. That is a viable path to success for this team. Like, very viable in these kind of tournaments where there's just chaos and noise and stuff. So rather than investing in Wales to, do something crazy like win the group or not, I just think it bleeds into the England to miss. Like, I think 8-1 is a good enough number to back it, because this team is like, this Welsh team has been together forever. We think that the US team has some upside, and you just talked about Iran being a little sneaky. So I don't know. I think you can look at all the numbers and you can say, like, this team is a luck box, but they did it in 2016. They qualified for the World Cup through playoffs. Like, for this World Cup, they got through the group stage in the last Euros. Like, they know how to play together, and they know how to play to their strengths. So I don't think you can just discount them.
Against Switzerland, Italy, and Denmark, Wales allowed 7.2 expected goals and created 1.8 in the Euros. That's bad.
And they lost 2 of them 3 matches.
It was a year ago.
Two of them badly, and then lost. Tied Switzerland.
I'm not saying they're a great team. I'm just like, this is a team that knows how to kind of just punch above their weight in these tournament settings, and the entire country is going to be coming over. They're going to be the one team that has, like, actual support coming over, by the way.
So you guys just had a nice little brouhaha there, but I think the most interesting thing about this group is that nobody can score. Right? I mean, what's the biggest
right, and that help? Who does that help?
Yeah, the underdogs. I agree. Like, so England's biggest thing is that they have the attacking talent, but it doesn't really show necessarily because of, Southgate sets them up to play with the handbrake on. They only play with like 2 or 3 attackers on the pitch at all times. And that they can be a little bit disjointed. And really that's been the problem for them. I know Nations League is Nations League, who cares, but they played a lot of pretty good lineups and they just couldn't generate enough shots and enough goals and expected goals. We're creating chances. That's their biggest problem. The U.S. men's national team, the biggest question, who's playing striker? Pepe can't get shots in the Bundesliga, hasn't produced enough in terms of shots. Jordan Pifak went on a hot finishing run in the Bundesliga, but that's not sustainable. Jesus Ferreira is their best striker, but he can't finish. So they have kind of
Aronson false 9. Let's do
damned
it.
if you do, damned if you. Tim Weah, by the way, underrated, but
Yeah,
like they kind of don't have a striker situation solved at the moment. That's going to be their biggest question mark at the World Cup. Iran, it's kind of just like you said, sit deep and long balls up to Taremi and Ansari Fard and hope they can do some magic with it and hope they win the second ball. And they don't really do that well. Like they're not a good attacking team whatsoever. They did almost nothing at the World Cup when they were there 4 years ago. There was an own goal and a penalty. So yeah, I there's major question marks about all these attacks. So like, could one Bale or Ramsey moment win it? It could. And I think that leads credence to Michael's argument, but they are bad. I mean, they're
bad. Like,
but even the players who you need to step up here, like BJ mentioned, like Joe Allen and Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale have not been in form at all. Have not been playing at all.
But they weren't before. They never are. Like they just don't care about their club teams at this point.
Bale had just had a good season at Spurs before he had the great Euro. So I think it's like a little bit different here because Bale is barely playing. I mean, he couldn't even get on the pitch until they needed him in the last 30 for LAFC. So I think in one way he could be more fresh, but he's not playing full 90s. Can he play 3 matches in a week and a half?
Of course.
No way.
who's
So
going
I
to be in
think
goal?
that's-
Who's going to be in
that-
goal for Wales?
That's kind of the biggest problem. Wayne Hennessy,
red hot
or is it
Danny
gonna be
Ward.
Danny Ward, yeah.
Danny Ward
I
is
mean,
red hot.
Wayne
right
Hennessy
now.
hasn't played for Nottingham Forest.
He's
Danny Ward, obviously,
Danny
is
Ward is
hot
red
right
hot.
now, but
He's red hot. And they got Daniel
Yeah,
James.
so
like
there's,
this,
there's question marks. I like the U.S. men's national team with Turner. I'd prefer them to have Turner in the goal.
Yeah.
It depends.
he's
on
kind
what
of
Berhalter wants
injured
to
right
do.
now, though.
Right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So Bet365 is not offering a lowest scoring group. They are offering a highest scoring group. This would be the group I think will have the fewest goals. I think there's gonna be a lot of 1-0s, a lot of 1-1s. And that leads credence to a wild final day where one weird fluke or deflection could swing this group. I do not have a wager that I love in this group. So I am not betting anything here necessarily, except maybe Iran lowest scoring team at 12-1. I don't think they're getting out. So it's 3 matches. They're going to play 2 very good defenses in the US and England. So, do they score? I don't know. Iran, Wales also in the middle of the group. So it's not like it's the last match where both teams are just going to kind of have a go for it. There could still be, things on the line, but in terms of positioning, I do think England and US go through. If you listen to us, we did our first World Cup reaction draw. I said England or US was underpriced to advance. They're now about properly priced, right around even money. So I don't have a bet there.